Recording in progress.
Hello, and welcome to the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting for September 2nd of 2021. I would like to call the meeting to order, and let's take roll call.
Chair Stanek?
Here.
Vice Chair Shu?
Here.
Commissioner Begur?
Yes, here.
Commissioner Kumarapan?
Here.
And Commissioner Tambe?
Here. Good to see you, Kevin.
You too.
Okay, let's move on to ceremonial matters and presentations. Item 1 on the agenda is drought measures and impacts to recreational facilities.
Great. Good evening, everybody. Joanne McGreeny, Director of Parks and Recreation. And I would like to introduce Jimmy Tan. He is the new Assistant Director for Public Works, and Brian Gathers from Public Works Grounds to provide this presentation for you all this evening.
Perfect. So just putting up my presentation right now. Let me go to the slideshow there. All right. Good evening, Parks and Recreation Commissioners. My name is Jimmy Tan. I'm the Assistant Director of Public Works and Operations. I'm here to provide a brief presentation on the drought status and the city's water conservation measures that's been implemented for our facilities. Tonight with me is Brian Gathers, who is our grounds supervisor. Both of us are available at the end of the presentation to answer any questions. So just here's a little bit of a background on the drought and regulatory actions that took place this year. As you're probably aware, the state is in the second consecutive year of dry conditions, resulting in drought conditions throughout many portions of the state. Back in May 25th, the U.S. Drought Monitor report indicated that Santa Clara County is in an extreme drought stage. And therefore, on June 9th, Valley Water, which is the water district, held a special meeting to discuss the drought and approved a resolution to declare a water shortage emergency condition. And they also imposed a 15% of 2019 water use restrictions at that time. And the restriction is due to the low water storage and imported water allocations that Valley Water receives. And during that meeting, they mentioned that their largest reservoir, Anderson Reservoir, is unavailable for use during the seismic retrofit project, which is expected to last 10 years. And their second largest reservoir, Coyote Reservoir, has also limitation of storage because of safety concerns. Then on July 8th, the governor issued an executive order and called for the Californians to voluntarily reduce water use just through simple actions such as reducing landscape irrigation, running dishwashers and washing machine only when full, and finding and fixing leaks in the water system, and then installing water efficient shower heads and taking shorter showers. In addition, the governor added 9 more counties where drought effects were increasingly severe, and one of the 9 counties included Santa Clara County. And on July 22nd, the staff in the city here presented the drought status update to City Council and provided information on the city's water conservation measures. And on August the 17th, the mayor presented the proclamation for local water conservation efforts and urged each citizens and businesses to join the efforts of water conservation and become more aware of the need to save water during the drought. So this slide shows information regards to where and how much water is being used at the city facilities. As you can see, majority of the city's predominant water use is at parks and schools to irrigate the turf. The city maintains 19 parks, totaling approximately 148 acres. The city also has a joint use agreement with the school district to maintain turf at 9 schools, totaling about 46 acres as well. The school turf and city parks are programmed for use, and they are the largest water users. So we need to look at opportunities to find the right balance to conserve waters in these areas. And the remaining water use is being used at the golf course, the median, and as well as the facilities, landscaping and facilities. So the city has, done a good job of converting the existing landscaping with drought-tolerant plants that require little irrigation around facilities and medians, and have, been using drip irrigation as well to reduce the water use. So there's where you can see there's very little water use for medians and facilities landscaping. So what were the conservation measures that the city implemented during the previous drought event in 2015? So, but during the time, the city amended the city's ordinance 15.32, which is the water conservation ordinance, and to allow the council to adopt the water use restriction, also allow the public works to implement water conservation measures at city facilities. The city also developed water conservation measures for city operations, and this included guidelines on water use restrictions at city facilities, dependent on the mandate or recommendations imposed by Value Water by the state. And the document also included description and action at various stages of drought, and an aerial site plans, which I'll show you later, prepared to show the water use at each facility. Since the city does not operate our own water system, and the city partnered with Value Water and water retailers in Cupertino. The water retailers in Cupertino are California Water Service and San Jose Water. And then by partnering them, we offer additional rebates for landscape conversion or installation of rainwater capture devices, or rebates for gray water. Through these actions, the city's efforts, the city was able to achieve 31% of water use reduction in 2015, exceeding the overall restriction required during that time of 30%. So for the current drought, the city will be implementing the same water conservation measures as we did in 2015. So what is the city's current water conservation efforts for this current drought here? As mentioned, the city will be implementing the same conservation measures. So the water use at parks and ball fields have been reduced to conserve water. The program used for the turf areas, where the water use will be reduced from 5 days to 3 days per week. As for the passive turf areas where it is unprogrammed use, the city has reduced water use from 5 days to 2 days per week. And there are also areas where the city will be keeping the areas brown or create new brownout areas. The city is also looking for opportunities to convert some of the landscaping with water efficient landscaping and drip irrigation as well. So although the city is limiting irrigation use, the city is also trying to preserve the trees. So we're ensuring that the trees get minimal amount of water where it needs it to stay alive. The city will not fill any of the ponds at Memorial Park or operate the interactive fountain at Community Hall. The city has created a website also to communicate and educate the public regarding the drought and importance of water conservation. And the website, as shown on the slide, is cupertino.org/drought, which has information that includes links to water retailers, water conservation programs, city's past and current water conservation efforts, and a dashboard of water use at city facilities. We'll continue to partnership with Value Water and water retailers to offer rebates like we've done in the past to the community as well. So these are some of the maps that I mentioned earlier that were created during the 2015 drought and were updated for this current drought. Through the work of our GIS and the ground surveying staff, these were updated to indicate the proposed landscape water use at various city facilities. So on this slide, just showing 2 locations as an example. On the left is the map of the City Hall, where it shows 3 different irrigation areas. You can see the proposed limited irrigation area in the middle of the courtyard, where irrigation, is being reduced. There's existing drip irrigation surrounding City Hall, and there's also brownout areas near the library and Community Hall. And then another example is on the right of Monta Vista Recreation Center, the ball field where this program use is shown. There's also areas where irrigation will be limited, as shown, in hatch area, and there's also, drip irrigation and brownout areas also shown around the perimeter as well. So the special water conservation efforts will be occurring at both the Blackberry Farm Golf Course and the McLaren Ranch Community Garden. The golf course, the current strategy is to keep the tees and keeps boxes and greens green, and then also refrain from watering the rough and fairways. The water conservation at the golf course will be performed in multiple phases, depending on whether the city is meeting the conservation targets. With the first phase, watering of the rough areas will be stopped, will cease. And for the second phase, we'll stop watering the fairways as well. And the area in front of the tee boxes, like 50 yards in front of the tee box or the 100 yards in front of the tee box will be, will cease the watering at those areas as well. For the garden, the gardeners have been provided information about the conservation requirements and tips on the best practices for watering, and the use of drip lines have been encouraged to reduce water use. The master gardeners have held workshops to teach gardeners how to install drip lines, and there's coordinated efforts with some retailers to provide discounts on some of these supplies as well. Just, here's just a map or actually a graph showing what the city's doing on our end to track the water use. So this is information that we have created that shows the water use pattern from January through December. The two bars are shown there. The light blue color is the year 2019, while the darker blue year is the 2021. And as previously mentioned, we are comparing our water use to the 2019 water use, because the mandate from Valley Water is 15% of 2019 water use consumption. So you see from the graph here, there's a slight change in water use starting in July this year. That's when that's the month when the irrigation use was changed. And in August, the water use is shown to be drastically lower than the 2019. So then the city staff will be continually to monitor our water use on a monthly basis to ensure that we're reducing the water consumption. So make sure that we're below the reduction goal of 15%. And if we're not, we'll definitely be adjusting our water use accordingly. And as I previously mentioned, there are two water retailers in Cupertino that provides a water service to our community. One is California Water Service, and the other one is San Jose Water. Due to the recent, this drought event, both water retailers have implemented what's called, stages within their water shortage contingency plan, and it's also filed what's called Rule 14.1 with California Public Utilities Commission. So on June 14th, Cal Water filed the Rule 14.1 with CPUC. They're implementing what is called a stage 1 of their water shortage contingency plan. And as for San Jose Water, they filed both the advice letters 563 and 564 with CPUC on June 18th, and they're implementing stage 3 of the water shortage contingency plan. And both water retailers, they have their own water use restrictions, and as part of the water shortage contingency plan, such as limiting watering days on maybe perhaps 2 days a week, limits on watering duration, and restriction time for irrigation. There's limits on washing vehicles, making sure that cars are being washed at commercial washing facilities instead. So a lot of these information are posted on these water retailer websites that residents can go to and read more about that. As for enforcement, and most people don't realize that the enforcement is conducted by the water retailers. So residents who see anyone wasting water and want to report shall contact the water retailers. So both water retailers have online forms that resident can use to file a complaint, water waste complaint, if they see anybody wasting water. So the following, here are just available resources to obtain additional information on drought. Just again, there are various water conservation programs currently in place to reduce, water use. There's like the landscape program that Valley Water is offering up to about $3,000 for residential sites. The program is designed to encourage residents and businesses to convert high water use landscape areas such as lawns and to retrofit them, to low water use landscaping. There's also like gray water rebate program that residents can receive up to $400 to install the gray water laundry to landscape system. So both water retailers in Cupertino have various rebates. for residents plus so encourage residents who are interested in those rebates to go to their water retailer website to learn more about that, and then also apply for rebates that's being offered. So this concludes my presentation, and Brian and I are available to answer any questions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll bring it back to the commissioners. Do you have any questions? If you do, please raise your hand and I will call on you. Commissioner Gopal.
Thank you, Chair. So one question, clarifying question on the bar chart, if you could able to put it back onto it, and especially in August, the savings were there. And I just want to have a quick question on that.
Sure. Bear with me a second here.
Right. So in this chart, yeah. So August looks like in good difference from July to August itself already. So my question was, is that the cost saving measures which we said in 2015, whatever we said, we already started implementing it in July? That's what it is reflecting in August?
The cost of, no, the bar chart shows the difference between the 2019 and 2021 water use. So, the light blue is the 2019 water use, and then the the blue, darker blue is the 2021 water use. So we're trying to, meet the demands or the reduction of 15% of the 2019 water use, in this current year.
Oh yeah, no, I think thank you. But my question is just within the 2021. I'm not the light blue, the dark blue ones. Within 2021, looks like we did you on the team and they did an amazing job that making it from whatever it is, 15 million, whatever I see it on the bar from July to August, it gone down drastically. Does that mean that those measures are already showing off results now?
Correct. So that's the current measurements, or that's the current data that we have. Because in this information is constantly being updated because the bills are being inputted into the system to analyze or to basically determine the water use for the city facility. So this is the current data that we have here, the most recent data in regards to the water use.
Okay, thank you. The second question I had is, in the 2015 measure, what are the measures we have taken? One of the item is not to fill the pond in the Memorial Park, but that's we already don't. We don't have it at all right now anyway. That means we need to introduce new others. So is that taken into consideration? There are additional measures than what 2015, what we have taken, because one of them is invalid in the sense for me. So I'm trying to see, is there any additional measures we are trying to introduce?
Yeah, not at this time. I think currently right now, a lot of the major water use is at the turf area. So we're implementing the reduction at these turf areas first to see how much impact or how much water use reduction we can achieve at these turf areas.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's pretty much my questions.
Okay, Commissioner Begor.
Hi, thank you for your presentation, Jimmy. I just have a question with regard to what we did in 2015 versus what we're doing now. And Gopal asked part of my question, but we obviously achieved a 31% reduction when compared to what we were using in 2013. How does the 2021 compare to the 2013? And how does whatever measures we put in for 2021 compare with what was done in 2015?
Brian, would you like to answer that? Because I don't have a lot of history here. I've only been with the city for 3 months, so hopefully Brian can chime in a little bit. Yeah.
Sure, I can answer that. Some of the measures we did from the 2015 drought since then, a lot of areas were browned out and turf was irrigation was turned off on the turf. That was what we would call passive turf, not turf being programmed or anything. In the years since then, we've converted some of that to native plants and drip irrigation to reduce the water that way. And just we're just constantly trying to reduce our water usage, whether we, cut the grass taller so it doesn't dry, it protects the root zone and all that stuff. So, but the main thing has been reducing areas and converting them to drip. And I think you'll see it a lot in the medians. They've done an exceptional job of converting all that stuff over to native plants and chip and mulch and the drip irrigation. Does that answer your question?
To an extent, I guess I was just looking to see if we had some information with regard to what was our water usage in 2013 to what it is in 2021, or how it compares. I mean, how much more are we using or how much less are we using? And similarly, what is the comparison between 2015 and 2021? Clearly, I'm assuming that after the drought went away in 2015, we either, because of measures we took at that time, we were able to maintain the parks to a reasonable level without using excessive water, or we went back to our old ways and now we have to redo something. Just trying to understand that. Was it too long a question?
No, I'm not sure I can answer that question without the data in front of me to show actual water use from 2013 and 2015. I mean, really, the graph only shows the comparison to 2019 and 21.
Yeah.
If you're interested in sorry to chime in, if you're interested in knowing the difference between 2013 and 2021, is that one of the question?
Yes.
I created this dashboard a while back. I can maybe show this, but we have to analyze this, as I mentioned. This is a year comparison between 2013 and then the 2021 water use here. So again, it shows a drastic decline in August here currently versus 2013.
Okay, so if I was to look at so just for my information on June, let's just look at the June numbers. There's the top one is the 2021 versus 13 and 2021 versus 19. So it looks like, if you can just scroll up a bit. Yeah, so So we're using overall more water now than we used to use before, at least June, July, and August, we got it right. Maybe, but somehow in June, okay, that's fine. That's a good, oh, that went away. Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Hey, Commissioner Tombe? Can you unmute yourself? Thank you.
Sorry about that. Thanks for the presentation. I didn't realize that 8% of our water usage went into the golf course. So that's huge, right? Parks and Rec not only does parks, but it also does the golf course. That puts us at 60%, responsible for 60% of water usage in the city. I was curious, for the golf course, there are a lot of trees and a lot of kind of foliage in that area. Do we know what percentage, and I know that's a very specific question, do we know what percentage of the water, that 8%, is used towards maintaining the trees versus the green?
I'll try to pipe in. Sorry, it took me a minute to get mute off as well. So the majority of the trees out at the golf course are actually on the perimeter of the course. There's some down the middle. But I think that our irrigation is so out of date that it would be hard to determine what water is used for what at this point. But we can always look into that and try and determine what percentage of the watering is being used in that area, but I don't have that information right now.
Okay, yeah, if it's possible, only because, we're going to be making decisions on the golf course soon. And if we know, if it's 7%, 7 of the 8% are used for the trees and it's only 1% for the green, then from a water environmental perspective, that might not have any real impact. But if it's 7% is used on the green and 1% for the trees, then that can make a difference on that front. I was wondering, we have these tiers in terms of our response to what's happening with the drought. And with climate change kind of going the way it's going, it's really not going to be something that is one day going to magically disappear. It's really only going to get worse. So I was curious as to, is there an effort to go beyond what the city is slated to do and actually take those next steps now instead of taking them later? And if not, then what's the reason for waiting to take those next steps?
I guess I can answer that. Some of the steps, like I said earlier, were to convert over to drip and native plants and that type of stuff, reduce passive areas or passive turf areas. I don't know that we've had that conversation. I'm sure it's coming in the near future. I agree with you. I don't think this is miraculously going to flip the switch and we're going to go back to water. I think it changes our mindset and how we have to address water usage in our parks. And I definitely think that's going to be part of a conversation here very shortly.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Shu.
Hi, thank you for the good presentation. I learned a lot from it. And I still have some questions regarding the irrigation system. So is that follow a fixed schedule in different seasons, or we have the weather skip function for the irrigation system? Like for raining day or very cold day, can we stop watering those plants?
Yes, we can. Water is adjusted per the season and weather. And sometimes even in the season like we're having now, we're not having an exceptionally hot summer. So that's why you'll see on those graphs where water usage from year to year might vary in the same month, just depending on the weather that time. As far as if we're anticipating rain, we will shut the controllers off. And so we do a lot of anticipating of the weather. We check the weather patterns and adjust the run times on the irrigation controllers.
So when I look at the water usage data, it shows this year in March and April, we used much more water than 2 years ago. And I remember we have a very dry spring this year. So is that because of the weather difference?
Yeah, I would probably attribute it to that and just a more than normal warmer February, March, April in there. And there was no precipitation. So it did make us have to turn the water on earlier than anticipated.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to open it up for public comment. If there is any public comment at this point, we don't even have any public listening to our meeting. So I want to make the announcement that we are open for that, but since there's no one there and there are no hands up. So we'll bring it back to the commission for any final comments. I did have a comment on the slide where you're comparing either 2019 to 2021 or the 2013 to 2021, and where you show the difference. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like since we only have data for 8 months of 2021, we're comparing 8 months to 12 months of the previous year, whatever we're comparing to. And so it doesn't seem like it's fair to show the percentage decrease of 8 months to 12 months. So I just wanted to am I interpreting that correctly of how that is being presented?
That's correct. I think that's how it's, the dashboard is calculating that at this moment. And so, again, we're still trying to tweak this and to make sure that, we're achieving our goals here. So I think we're monitoring the water use on a monthly basis.
Yeah, I think the monthly comparisons are very valuable. I'm just a little bit, I would be hesitant to show a full year comparison to a partial year. If you're going to do a comparison, maybe you should do a year to date of the comparison year and the year we're in. It might not make us look as good, but considering the data is only 2/3 of the way through the year, we really should be down 40%, 30 or 40% if we were tracking. And I understand, part of that is the measures you put in place really kicked in starting July and August. So I think those are just the comments I would make in the presentation. If you're going to bring us to council to talk to them about it, I think it would be useful to have an apples to apples comparison. Commissioner Tombe.
Yeah, thank you. So I think this, all this is really essential, and it's really amazing work that y'all are doing. And as these new policies come into play, let us know what we can do that's beyond the minimum requirement. I think globally we're pretty much now we're past the tipping point according to the IPCC report that came out a couple of weeks ago. So I think that if there's more that we can be doing as we continue to design new parks, new facilities, things like that, please let us know what they are. I think, and anybody who's like, oh, but I like the greenery is kind of living 100 years ago and not really where we need to be. So I want to have water in California when I'm 50 in 20 years. So I would really like to do whatever we can. So please, let us know what we need to do to change what we're doing and how we can be helpful, both in terms of how we plan for Parks and Rec Commission and then also individually as well. And I saw those great resources and we'll be sure to share them on my network channels as well. So thank you very much.
Okay, Commissioner Gopal.
Yeah, thank you again. I'm putting it together for our visibility. And a couple of things is, what are we doing from a city side? This is for a city usage. And I hope that doesn't include the individual consumers like me and others using it, right? And is there a way that city is going to, I know there is a rebate program from Valley Water and other retailers and others, but is there anything city is going to put some efforts to reach out to the community, the members or citizens in Cupertino, to see what effort we can do? Because typically I used to see a lot of flyers coming in and others, but I want to make sure that is there any town hall kind of or anything where we come and then we can motivate, incentivize those. Is there any programs? Or maybe I missed it. If I go into the drought, then maybe I'll find out.
Yeah, the website actually has a lot of information. And back in 2015, what I understood was the city actually participated in the landscape rebate program by adding in additional dollars per square footage for as an incentive to allow Cupertino residents to participate or get more rebate, as part of the landscape conversion. So I know that we've put in an items of interest document too for this drought, and then we presented to council as well. There will, the city's, has the website up there, but I don't know whether there will be any additional, letters going out to each individual, resident in our community, in regards to the drought, because I think the city is also relying or partnering with the water retailers to ensure that they're actually doing that for their customers.
Okay, the reason, maybe I'll just put that one thing on it. I think, for example, when I use less power than my average home, I get a report from PG&E and saying that, okay, this is the normal usage, this is the average home, and you are done it. Either you're done very good or poor. It gives a notification. The moment I look at sometime, it feels, okay, if I get a very good, I feel incentivized that, okay, let's use the same way and keep it, right? If I get very poor, then I go really look for it, even though it's kind of a simple report, but I don't ignore it. We really take it. Similarly, the water usage level, if there is a way, I haven't seen anything coming from either San Jose Water or any of the retailers to coming to us saying that compared to you individually, right? This is what you used to, this is usage, it's better, or you're doing better compared to relative to others. It's always good to have that incentivized. If they don't do it, is there any way city can work with them and to do that for us? Because that really on our face and which will force us to act or sometimes feel guilty that if I'm really bad compared to others, right? So I will go actively work on it. So that's, I just put that request there. If it's not, I think I'm sure that you, I'm sorry, I know even though you said 3 weeks into that or 3 months, sorry.
3 months.
Or 3 months, I'm putting a lot of things on you, but I just want to make sure if there are anything there, Dr. Joanne and Brian and others, I think that'll be a good opportunity because that really is an effective, at least from my perspective. Just want to share that input.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no further comments, I'd just like to thank you for the presentation and congratulations on the work you're doing. I can see that it just kicked in very recently and we're going to have a lot of work to do going forward. And thank you for your ideas and your creativity for however we can make it better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 2 on our agenda is approval of the minutes from the meeting of July. Are there any comments on the minutes? Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I move to approve the minutes from the past meeting.
I second
Do I
that.
have a second?
Yes. I second that.
Kevin, is that okay for Commissioner Sashi to second? Oh, you were here, right?
Yes.
Were you at that? Okay. So the 3 of us that were at the meeting were me, Commissioner Tambe, and Commissioner Begor. Okay. So we have a second. Are there any comments or adjustments? If not, let's vote on that.
Chair Stanek?
Yes.
Commissioner Begor?
Yes.
Commissioner Tambe?
Aye.
Commissioner Shu?
Yes.
Or just say you abstain since you weren't part of the meeting.
Okay. Yeah.
And then same-
Abstain in July.
And then Vice Chair Commissioner Kumarappan?
I'll abstain. I was not there, so.
So motion carries with 3 yes and 2 abstain.
Okay, thank you. Our next item on the agenda are any postponements, of which I don't think we have any. Is that correct? And
I do
moving
not have
on
any.
to, okay, thank you. Oral communications. This is the part of the agenda where members of the public can speak to those items not on the agenda. And so I welcome anyone from the public who would like to raise their hand at this time to speak on any item that is not on the agenda. Given that there are no hands to participate in oral communications, we can move on. We'll move on to written communications. Do we have any written communications? No. Okay. And then moving on to old business. First item of old business is agenda item number 3, nature play.
So very excited to be able to provide the next 2 presentations this evening. And tonight we have with us Jason Vasali, which I've been saying his name incorrect for many months and finally was corrected. He is our recreation coordinator at the Senior Center and has worked on this item and will be providing the presentation tonight.
Good evening, commissioners. I am Jason Vasali, and I am here to talk about nature play. So here's a brief overview of what I'll be discussing tonight. I'll be defining nature play, explaining what the master plan says about it, and detailing the short and long-term guidance for nature play in the master plan. Nature play is comprised of any activity that gets children active or thinking actively outdoors. The end goal of nature play is to allow children to build skills and the ability to play without requiring parental or adult supervision. Nature play can be in any setting provided it's outdoors, and the definition of nature play is ambiguous by design. Rather than restrict the scope or setting of a child's play area or equipment into cookie-cutter designs, nature play intends to create a space for children to experience new things while fostering creativity and imagination. Though somewhat open to interpretation, nature play is not simply an or underdeveloped field with natural features. As defined by the master plan, nature play includes climbable elements such as logs, stumps, boulders, mounds, and trees, water features or water play features, sand, mud, wood chips, and rocks, movable pieces such as branches for fort building, or other natural play elements consistent with the site's character, plants and trees, butterfly gardens, children's gardens to potentially be included in our satellite community gardens are also a viable option for nature play. In addition, the city's general plan suggests that where appropriate, nature play areas should be considered in lieu of more conventional play equipment. As far as short-term guidance, the master plan guides us to first pilot an adventure playground or nature play area to stimulate the imagination by including sand and water play or interactive elements with movable and loose parts. The master plan also suggests considering a park with good tree canopy and natural features. Currently, there are 2 CIP projects that could be viable options to incorporate nature play into: the new Lawrence Mitty site and Memorial Park. A pilot could also potentially be undertaken at one of the upcoming playground equipment replacement projects. Appendix F from the master plan lists out short-term targets as Memorial, Creekside, Wilson, Portal, Linda Vista, or Three Oaks parks, and trail corridors. For long-term guidance, the master plan indicates we should develop 3 to 4 nature play sites geographically dispersed across the city, provide play areas in a mix of community parks, large neighborhood parks, smaller parks, and trail corridors. We should locate 1 in a more natural site and in a park where natural elements and native plantings exist or are being added. These may replace an existing play area at the end of its life cycle, and we should endeavor to create at least 1 destination nature play facility in a more centralized, accessible location. Water play features or structures set in natural environments are both good applications of nature play, as shown here. Some additional considerations the city will need to keep in mind moving forward are the increased maintenance requirements and potential liability concerns that are intrinsic to new features, such as this. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioners, please raise your hand if you have any questions. Commissioner Gopal.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Jason. I think the pictures speak, I think, for everything. I feel like we should have all of them already there. That's how it feels like, inviting, such a different look. Thank you for the presentation. The questions, I have 2 of them. One, when I look at all those with wood and other things, seems to be okay, gone. But I think the second picture, one of them, when you showed with the rocks on it, there are 3, 4 big rocks and 2 kids on it, kind of. And the immediate one popped up is the safety measures. What is that? I know you said that there may be other kind of things we need to be careful. So what are the safety measures we need to go when we go that extreme kind of? The rest all seems to be at least picture-wise okay, but that popped up a question immediately, how safe it is. And do we have any of those measures baked in when we put it there? That's my first question.
Sure. So that would be something that we would need to investigate while we were determining what features would go at different sites. So if we were going to look into implementing that rock structure, that would be something that we need to keep in mind while we were doing that. But currently we don't have that kind of structure, so we don't have anything built in.
Okay, great, thank you. The second question is, are we going to encourage local artists or the carpenters in general, those kind of folks who can build these, or it is going to be a standard way where some park has done it and we are going to go with the vendors. Is there any program to motivate and encourage local talents even to do that one? Is there anything tied into this program?
And not at present. I don't know if that's, I'd have to look into that to see if it's a feasible option, but I think we don't have anything built in like that.
I have some ideas, but I will wait it for the discussion time. So that's just a question. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Commissioner Begor.
Okay. The nature play was definitely fun. I wish I had that growing up, but just like Commissioner Kumaran, when I looked at that boulder, I was like, oh my God, that kid's gonna fall down and break his head. So, one, of course, is the safety, which has already been talked about. The second one, which you sort of brought up, was the liability issue. Now, of course, we don't want Cupertino to be sued in any way, but I'm assuming that anybody who has such a nature park will have some kind of a liability plan, for lack of a better word. So have you looked at any of those, and I'm sure there's some kind of an insurance involved and what those costs will be?
Sure. So there are quite a few nature play sites either popping up or have already been created in the Bay Area. So those would be, local cities would be a good resource that we can look into to kind of see what they've gone through. I believe San Francisco is in the process of adding a nature play site at Heron's Head Park right now. Mm-hmm. And then there's a few more that have recently cropped up around the Bay Area as well that we'd be able to reach out and ask what their experience has been so far.
Okay, so we don't have any information as of yet, but there's obviously a chance for us to go get some.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, Commissioner Tombe.
Yeah, so thank you so much for the presentation. I'll save my comments for the comment section, but in terms of questions, there's been a lot of concern, it seems, around safety, and that was brought up in the presentation. What is the difference in terms of liability for a traditional play structure? Because there's the ones that you swing across. If you put your finger there, you could shave your fingers off. There's monkey bars you can fall off and break your arm. There's tall structures without barriers. So what is the actual liability difference between somebody walking on a log versus somebody flipping over on, one of those high bars?
So as long as they're city, I'm no expert in liability issues, but I believe they would be similar. The concern would be what we're building may present more liability. It's just something I included in the presentation as an extra, as a thought that we should keep in mind, just because, as was brought up with the rock structure in specific, there are certain elements that can be included that may be more concerning than others. I don't know.
Okay. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Shu.
Hi, thank you for the nice presentation. And those pictures really remind me of the places like Happy Hollow or some other parks. And I remember at Happy Hollow, they have maybe 3-story high slides, and just like the picture, the wood house. Yeah, and the big boulder around the slides. And I remember, just to be safe, the ground in that area that's pretty soft. So kids, even if they fall down, they won't get injured. But I just curious. So we defined these things as nature play. Would that they cost higher than the traditional playground, or is there any other difference?
I haven't investigated costs for building nature play sites, so I couldn't speak to that. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because those things like the wood slides and the border, they look so natural and a lot of fun. But most of the parks, I still see they just use those traditional playground. I just guess maybe because of cost issue.
I would say this is something that's kind of gained traction more recently. So you may start seeing a lot more things like this.
Thank you.
So I guess one question for me is, so today the presentation, this is primarily an informational presentation to us and sort of a status update. What are you looking for from us today, and what would be the next steps?
Sure. So we thought it was important to define nature play and give some examples so that everybody had the same footing as far as making recommendations about future projects. I think that this presentation would be extremely helpful in helping us decide future CIPs and providing information for projects like the Lawrence-Mitty plan, as well as the specific plan for Memorial Park. And then, of course, the equipment replacement program that is a 5-year project. And so wanted to see if that's what your feelings are as well. If there is, of course, additional guidance from the master plan about incorporating nature play at certain parks. And so just wanted to see, again, what the interest is, what way we should be going, what your feedback is. The other thing that I would like to mention, just based on what Commissioner Hsu had brought up about cost differences. Of course, we haven't gone that far into the process yet, but there may be things like it may not be as costly up front, but more difficult to maintain or more costly to maintain. That may or may not be an issue, but those are things that we need to look into further. But we're kind of at the starting point. The other thing that I wanted to just make sure, I know that the commission has brought this up multiple times, that we're not losing sight of long-term as well as short-term. And so we just wanted to make sure that that was incorporated into the presentation so that we're thinking about now and long range as well.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other questions from the commissioners, for the record, I will open it up for input from the public, for public comment on this issue. And once again, we have no hands up for this item tonight. So I'll bring it back to the commission for comment. Please raise your hand if you have additional comments or input on this, understanding that this was basically a level set from staff to make sure that we're all on the same page about what we're thinking about for nature play and the kind of options that are out there. This is not to determine what kind of nature play we'll be putting in any particular park at this time. Commissioner Gopal.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Jason, again, and I'll just pick on some of the comments I was holding on. Again, we don't have to go deep into it, but just on ideas based on things I've seen outside in other places, not necessarily for nature play. This is an awesome opportunity for us, like Arts Commission or other local talents, and really come and collaborate and come up with even the real production of those plays. Because I saw the train kind of one, which I said, wow, it's awesome. And I'm sure that those creative ideas will come from our local residents as well, either students, the high school students, and the artistic, because that also kind of encourages the art, liberal arts and other area within our city, which kind of we are forcing on many other fronts, and not necessarily just go on science and technology, because that's another beautiful area, and which if we could feed to that appetite with the people and the talented folks around it. I know at least one or two people who does this work beautifully, and I haven't seen it until I saw that one. I think that would be an awesome opportunity to encourage. I think it's for you and Joanne and Dr. Joanne too to think about it. How do we really bring those ideas and we can make it implement? And that could be not about cheaper, but it could be the same or even cheaper, but it brings our own, and the people will love it because it's done by our own patrons, our own community members. And that would be an awesome opportunity. Again, it'll be a collaboration too. It'll enable commissions, schools, other talented individuals to come together, which will become as a community event, kind of, right, as a project. and we can fund it, we can do it kind of. So I was thinking by looking at it, oh my God, I think we all should go and do it. I wish I had those kind of a talent. I can jump in and go and do it. Unfortunately not much. And I tried it at home, but I've been thrown out. So I just putting that on the ideas, because this is kind of an opportunity to bring communities together in many ways. That's what I see it, because it really looks beautiful whenever you showed it and say that. Yes, I loved it, especially the tower with those hanging kind of, I said I wanted to go there. So thank you. It's amazing. It's fantastic ideas, and I fully support on that. That's the only comment I had.
Sure.
Any comments, Commissioner Tombe?
Double. I tried to raise my own hand. I again, thank you for this presentation. Really, really excited to have Nature Play incorporated. I've been to a number of other cities' parks where they have Nature Play, and it's been such a big hit to see kids kind of interact directly with nature. It does a lot of things. I actually spent a good deal of time doing research on the mental health and the physical health benefits of Nature Play, which are significantly different than the plastic or the metal infrastructure that is used in current models. So I think that this is really exciting. It's really good, especially for the kids in Cupertino who are hyper screen focused. Most kids have, phones and tablets, if not both, by the time that they're 9, which is crazy to think about. So making sure that they get out from underneath this prescribed notion of play, which is what happens in an infrastructure development that's plastic, into a free open space. And I don't mean open space in terms of physical, but a free open area that isn't necessarily an adult telling you, hey, you can't put that rock somewhere, or you can't put that stick somewhere, gives mental freedom. Access to nature provides mental health. There's several studies, which I'm also happy to share with you guys, that have shown that early childhood development, when kids are exposed to outdoors and natural elements, actually leads to adults who have better capacity to manage anxiety, to manage depression, and other kinds of mental health ailments. So it's really exciting to see that we're bringing this in. And also, a lot of parents in Cupertino, my own included, aren't really savvy at nature. And so for them, Nature Play can seem a little intimidating, especially, when you come from environments that don't have that, right? Like where my parents grew up, there wasn't like, you go camping. That wasn't a thing you did. That was like, you have a house, stay in your house. So providing access to kids here whose parents might not be exposed to Nature Play concepts, I think is really great. And with climate change, exposure to nature and natural elements breeds a closer relationship to nature that I think is going to be really essential for the kids who are going to be, growing up in a world where fires and floods are regular, and hopefully stepping away from materialism. So I think this is really great. Thank you so much for starting to explore this. I'm super excited, and I'll be really honest with you. I play on Nature Play equipment all the time. It's a lot of fun. Climbing on logs, jumping between things and stacking rocks. If you've ever been to like even beaches and walks, like people do the meditation stack. That's actually a form of meditation, is how many rocks can you balance on top of each other, is a meditative practice. And so I just think this is amazing, and I'm really excited to see it in Cupertino. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. One idea that I've seen over, actually at the Saratoga Quarry Park, there's a labyrinth over there that is very simple. It is essentially a no-cost kind of activity. It's very good for meditation and reducing stress. It is for adults as well as for children. And I just thought it was a wonderful idea. And it turns out that there is a little-known labyrinth in Cupertino that we may be talking about a little bit more later in our discussion tonight. And it's something that's already there that I think is wonderful. And I thought maybe I would share a picture of it. Let me share my screen. It's very hard to see. The picture doesn't do it justice. Let's see. Hopefully. if you can see this, can you see the labyrinth here?
Yep.
Where it is fairly intricate, and it goes around, and it's pretty large. It's made with stones and branches from clearly the natural area there. And this actually is here in Cupertino, and I think it would be very cool to see these in some of those lesser used places around the city where we can't really design something big, but we could have a very natural labyrinth that, taking Gopal's suggestion, that the community could help design and even put together. This would be a very simple concept. So that was just a thought that I have, and we may be talking about that a little bit more later. Let's see. We already did ask for community input, right? We were on comments. And does anyone else have any final comments here? If not, I'd like to thank you for the presentation. And I'm sure we'll be talking lots more about nature play because it is high on all of our lists. We all want to be out in nature, interacting with it, being creative, and offering that to our community. So thank you, and for all the time thinking about this, it's definitely worthwhile.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thanks. Okay, our next agenda item, number 4, is outdoor recreation diversity.
So good evening again. We have Alex Corbelis, who you're all familiar with from our strategic planning and prioritization for park amenity improvements. She is a rec coordinator as well at the Senior Center along with Jason, and has put together a presentation for outdoor fitness equipment. And just wanted again to have the conversation before we get into the reprioritization, so that we again have a starting point to have this conversation and getting the guidance from the master plan and such. So Alex, take it away.
All right. Well, hello again, everyone. Nice to see you all. I'll share my presentation with you here.
Good to see you.
Thank you. All right. I can see it. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay. So with that, I know Joanne just alluded to it there, but I think you all remember going through the Park Amenities Project and all that prioritization work that we did, that you all did, and wanted to come back to outdoor fitness equipment, which as it's listed in the master plan as part of outdoor recreation diversity. So I'm going to give you some more information on that today. Overview of what I'll be speaking about. I'm going to talk to you about how outdoor recreation diversity is included in the master plan as a whole. And then we'll talk more about outdoor fitness equipment and possible locations, what we currently have for outdoor fitness equipment, and some examples of different kinds of outdoor fitness equipment. So as stated in the master plan, the opportunity for outdoor recreation diversity is to provide a broader range of outdoor recreation opportunities, including facilities that support individual and group activities with a broad range of varied challenge levels. It also calls to diversify facilities to appeal to Cupertino's diverse population and to reflect Cupertino's unique character. This includes a whole host of possible elements such as outdoor fitness equipment, loop paths and mile markers, outdoor table tennis, pickleball, thematic play areas, and a whole many more things. For site selection, the master plan calls for providing at least one unique feature or facility at every community park and large neighborhood park. It also calls to consider smaller unique elements at other sites or to use art, colors, and facility choices to create different recreation and play experiences. For short-term phasing and options, the master plan calls for planning and developing one pilot project at one park to add diversity elements in the first year. Then to rotate through parks and update 1 to 2 parks a year with new elements. It also calls for implementing an outdoor table tennis pilot program at 1 to 2 sites by year 2 to evaluate usage and interest, as well as identifying a suitable site and implementing installation of outdoor fitness equipment during years 2 through 5. Outdoor table tennis is being implemented at Wilson and Jollyman Parks through the Park Amenities Improvement Project. And pickleball is being implemented at One Tennis Court Memorial Park, also through the Park Amenities Project. Outdoor fitness equipment intended for users under 12 years of age can be considered for implementation through the Playground Replacement Project as well. In the long term, the master plan calls for continuing to rotate through parks and updating 1 to 2 parks a year, as well as evaluating options to add more diverse and unique features wherever existing facilities are renovated or replaced. In the master plan, outdoor fitness equipment is recommended at Jollyman and Linda Vista as listed in Appendix E, and the recommendation for Linda Vista calls for replacement of the existing equipment. From the Park Amenities Improvement Project and that prioritization process, Creekside Park, Memorial Park, Wilson Park, and Monte Vista Recreation Center were identified as possible locations for installation of outdoor fitness equipment. These are the 2 current installations of outdoor fitness equipment in our parks that I'll be showing you next. The set at Linda Vista, which is what you see here, is located on the lowest level of the park near the large lawn. And this is what we have at Creekside Park, and this is located near the 5 to 12-year-old playground. So these next few slides I'm going to click through are examples of types and configurations of outdoor exercise equipment to give you an idea of the different kinds that can be installed and what might be available, because it's not all just the traditional kind of replication of what you'd see in a gym. So it's even inspired by things like American Ninja Warrior. If you've ever seen that, you might recognize some of the obstacles here. And these last 2 photos I'll show you are an example of an outdoor fitness equipment installation intended for those under 13 years of age. And this type of configuration may be considered for installation to replace an existing play structure, as I mentioned, as part of the Playground Replacement Project. And do you have any questions?
Okay, commissioners, please raise your hand if you have questions. And just again, a quick question for what you're looking for today from this presentation. It's a presentation. I don't think we're deciding on any particular outdoor equipment for particular parks.
Yes.
No, again, this is more of a presentation so that the next time we have the meeting to make some recommendations and decisions, I think we all have a starting point. I'm very excited because reading about the master plan and having certain themes for playground equipment replacement, I kind of never thought about a fitness equipment area for a 5 to 12-year-old area. And I just think it's so awesome. And I'm super excited that that might be a choice for people to have as an option to vote on. So again, I think it's just more familiarizing ourselves again with the master plan. I think sometimes we make a master plan and then we never go back to it and look at what it said. So we're making our way through. It's slow, but we're making our way through. So we just wanted to, again, get more of your input and feedback about how you felt. You may not feel the way I do about playground equipment replacement, but that was the one I was the most excited about.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gopal.
Yeah, I just want to second Dr. Joanne. So I'm earlier, the natural play was kind of excited, and I said this is much more exciting. So even I want to go into play. The question to you, Alex, is that the later things you showed, which seems to be like creative ways, is it all already implemented in our neighborhood cities, or this is just ideas, creative ideas which we can think of, or is there anything we can go and refer and see it, because those seems to be so good and few of them are. I'm just trying to find out.
So it was a mix, kind of depending on what is what was available, frankly, as photos. So some of those installations, similar installations, certain vendors will list right on their website where you can go look at their installations. So for example, those first couple I showed you, that particular company, I know that they have installations in the city of San Jose. Some of those other installations, for example, the one that I talked about, American Ninja Warrior, that particular one is in St. Louis. That doesn't mean there aren't any around here, but those photos are at a city park in St. Louis. And then a couple of them were actually renderings, which is a little crazy how good they can get at those these days, how real they look. But a couple of those were actually just renderings of.
Yeah, the last one was rendering, but the first few seems to be really good with exercise, but it looks like San Jose City. That's good. I just want to see any reference so that we can go and feel it. That's the context behind my question. Thanks, Alex. Appreciate it.
Okay, are there any other questions, commissioners? Okay, if there are no other questions, I will open it to public input with questions or comments on this agenda item. Seeing no questions from the public on this, I'll bring it back to the commission. Does anyone have any comments at this time? Commissioner Tambe.
Director, I completely echo your sentiments. I think converting these, it wouldn't be all of the playgrounds in Cupertino, but a few of the playgrounds into something that's more, about physicality and staying, getting kids moving. Like I said, anything to get them out of the house and off screen is amazing. So I think I would love to see that. I would love to see our playgrounds not necessarily be that hot pink slide, but actually be, something that they can interact with. And honestly, people have it's a lot of fun. It's not the same thing at every place you go. The variation is really cool. With regard to the exercise equipment, I really liked kind of a few of the ones in the beginning. I think that there's actually a great fusion between the previous item of nature play and this, even for adults. So I remember like at Memorial Park or even at Kennedy, I mean, I was there a long time ago, but they used to have, instead of metal, they had like wooden base exercise equipment. And so it didn't look like you're walking down a path and all of a sudden it's like a hot pink net that you have to climb. They would do it with rope, or they had like stumps that you could use to do your push-ups and stretch and things like that. So if there's ways that we can also incorporate that, not the more natural elements in, I think that would be really exciting. But seeing those, incorporating those diverse elements, I think is really great. And we've already started talking about, things like outdoor table tennis in our last segment. So that's already en route. Same thing with pickleball, that's already getting piloted. So seeing a lot of these things take shape. And I also just want to extend just, a thank you, because that was a big thing for me, is like, we're doing all this short-term stuff, but what about the long term? And so I really appreciate taking the time to run these pilots, see what's working, figure out what works for the community and what people are really engaged with. So thank you for doing that. And yeah, so if we can do more integrated stuff, so kind of thinking along the lines of like ISU or even like EcoPlay and companies like that, I think that would be really cool to incorporate, because they have like environmental elements in there, but it's still either play or fitness related workout equipment. So I think that's really cool, and would love to see that. And yeah, that's it. I think this is really awesome, and look forward to seeing how we can integrate this across our parks.
Commissioner Xu?
Thank you for the presentation. And I'm so happy to see this outdoor fitness equipment. Actually, they remind me of China, because in China, there are a lot of big cities. They don't have so many trees, so much greens, but in every city, there's a lot of different kind of outdoor fitness equipment, even in some tiny community park or maybe along a creek in the city. You can see all these equipment everywhere. And the interesting thing is, during weekend, kids play there. But on weekday, especially in the morning, you can see a lot of seniors, they got out and play on those equipment. And we even have some collection of funny videos. They said, see how seniors go wild on those equipment when adults go to work and the kids go to school. So yeah, it's really great equipment for all the age group. Yeah, I'm just glad to see, if we have these in our city, we can benefit a lot of more people. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other hands? One of the amenities that Cupertino used to be able to take advantage of was a ropes course that was down at Shoreline. I think it was part of Mountain View, and it had very challenging equipment, and it was used for leadership training in the high schools, and as well as businesses would come and do team building on it, and it was really a great facility. And if we could find a place to do something like that, ropes courses you can charge for them. They can, with the business community, if we can partner with them to do something like that, you do need trained facilitators for something like that. And I think in the end that might have been difficult for Mountain View to continue to maintain it. If that was Mountain View, I don't quite remember who was managing that. But I do remember that my daughter was trained as a ropes course leader, and so it was quite a development opportunity for her and for the students or the participants whenever they did that. So it's a different kind of opportunity, but I think it fits in with some of this equipment that you're seeing here too. Just a thought. If you come across something like that, or that might be interesting. Are there any other comments?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you for the
sorry.
question. No.
Sorry, one quick comment. So one of the things we had talked about in creating diverse fitness spaces outdoors for people is also making sure that there's potential areas to do things like Tai Chi, do things like yoga, outdoor yoga. Obviously, we couldn't provide a mat, but we can provide kind of small turfed areas where people could potentially do that outside. So, we don't necessarily just have to have infrastructure, but it would also be cool to see just a little bit of not grass, but like flat area where somebody could potentially do it, kind of like that material you see on a playground. And yeah, just an idea.
Okay. Well, thank you for the good presentation, Alice. That was great. And again, really looking forward to moving forward on some of these things and having the nitty-gritty discussions. Okay, moving on to item 5 on the agenda is the response to the mayor regarding a potential use of discretionary funds by the commission. And there's not a presentation on this from staff, but I will go ahead and present it. And Commissioner Begor, if you'll back me up on and support with additional comments. In the July mayor's meeting, Mayor Hall presented to the commissioners that he was offering you support to fund a $100 project or activity, if you will, to each commission to do something for the community. So that was what was presented to Commissioner Begor at that July meeting. And so because of Brown Act requirements and restrictions, this was not something that we could discuss with the commission before now. And Commissioner Begor and I discussed it, and we thought about some of the goals and what we would want to do. We need to understand $100 is really not very much money, and we don't want to take more time than really $100 should justify in figuring out what to do here. Some of the ideas that Commissioner Begor and I talked about was, at that time we were just opening up music in the park and some of the other activities that were going around, that were happening around the city. And we thought, how can we encourage people to come out and do something? And we thought maybe we could have a raffle at the music in the park or some other activity, and just promote that. Again, as we thought about that, one of the things I thought is that's kind of just building on something the staff has already done. And as it turned out, since we couldn't present this to you earlier, those activities have now, the summer has pretty much happened and they're done. So one of the things I've been talking to Joanne about, our director, is how could we do something that would benefit our community, would be very simple. We could use the $100 very simply, not take a lot of staff time. And so let me just bring up some slides.
So I just want to put in, can I just interrupt for a second before we get down into the ideas? Just want to give a little bit of explanation as to why he came up with it. I can see Commissioner Gopal looks very perplexed by the whole idea. So I just thought, looking at his face, I'll try to explain what is going on in the background. So apparently, the mayor is trying to get some kind of discretionary funding for as much as perhaps $10,000 per commission, and at this point all he could come up with between all the commissions was whatever this amount was. This was $100 per commission, and we could use it for whatever we want to use it for. My first reaction was that, are you serious? We can't do anything with $100. And then, so what if the very enterprising commissioners on another team said, why don't you just give it to us and then we'll collect all the money and use, we'll have at least $1,000 to use it. So, well, that was one idea, but talking to the chair, we said, let's see what we can come up with, and she came up with all these interesting ideas. We could do some kind of a raffle. So that's kind of the history behind what he's trying to get at. And at the time when he gave us that thing, when we had that conversation, was that it was sort of it has to be spent immediately in this fiscal year. And then subsequently he seems to have revised it and said, come up with the idea of how you can spend $100 on your commission at some point in time this calendar year. So that's, now we've opened it up to everybody. So your opportunity to come up with ideas after we hear what the chair has come up with so far.
Okay, so also, because again, I was just trying to be efficient, I actually came up with an idea that I'd like to share with the commission. And I don't want to hit the leave button. I want to hit the share button. Let me get this over here. Okay, can you see that?
Yep.
So Mayor Paul allocated $100 to each commission to spend on a project to benefit the community. Again, given the small dollars, we want to be efficient on our time spent here. So I'm sure we could spend many meetings coming up with lots of ideas of how to spend a lot of money, or even just $100. But just to put it in perspective, we're talking about $100. Okay? And in terms of goals, it seems to me that the project should relate to our charter and encourage community use of park resources. It should be easy to implement. It should minimize staff time. And it should be unique, hopefully something that is not done, that has not been done before. To that end, I have a proposal that there is this small, little-known labyrinth. And this labyrinth is located in the trail right off of McClough and Ranch West. And so my thought is that we should encourage the community to go visit this little-known natural labyrinth. And I think it is very, this has not been there for very long. I know that because I walk by it almost every day. And it has just been there for maybe a couple months. And so the idea is to sort of piggyback on some of the ideas that staff had to encourage people to get out during COVID, when they had community members going to various parks and taking pictures of themselves and looking for rocks and different things. Encourage people to go visit the labyrinth, submit a picture of themselves at the site via email or with a QR code, which is something that's been done for other activities. After a specified time, award a small prize to a randomly drawn subset of those who participated. So that is a thumbnail of what my proposal is. And so first question, I guess, why don't we open it up to questions about this, and then we can have a discussion. Are there any questions? Commissioner Tombe.
Do we know if there are more of these? That's really cool. Do we know if there are more of these in Cupertino?
I have not heard of any other. Any other questions? Okay. So I thought, if there are no other questions, let me open it up for public comment on this. And we will go to public comment, see if there are any comments or questions on this proposal. Seeing none, considering there are no attendees from the public on our meeting tonight, I guess our agenda did not inspire a lot of interest tonight. We'll bring it back for conversation. And so what I thought is, the one question is, should we proceed with this project? And so that's a question that we have. And then the kinds of things that I thought, if we do decide to proceed with this, the kinds of things that we would be looking for input on, what would be the time frame that we should be promoting it, as well as allowing for people to participate, the submission mechanism, should it be a QR code or an email, the options for the awards, should it be a small gift card to, say, a local bubble tea house? You know, how many of those should it be? Should it be 20 at $5, 10 at $10, something else? Or should it be, I've talked with the director about maybe doing something with Cupertino Cares masks that we could, if the director, if they are ordering additional masks, which it's not clear if they are going to do that, but if they were ordering masks, we wouldn't have enough money to do a minimum order ourselves, but if they were doing it, we could get approximately 30 masks that we could hand out to people, because it looks like we're going to be doing some masks. Other comments. And I thought that, again, rather than draw this out through a lot of meetings, is that we could have a subcommittee of 1 or 2 people that, after we get your input tonight, we could have that subcommittee go and finalize this with the director and put it into action. So, Commissioner Gopal.
Sure, thank you. I think even though the amount is small, I think I see this as a seeding money, right? Seed money, kind of, which can invite. Again, I think your idea is great. Definitely that brings an awareness of an existing natural thing within Cupertino where people can come, and it forces them to come and do it. It also makes people to come out. I'm absolutely fine. I was also thinking in parallel, not too many days, but we just talked about natural play. We did talked about the other. So it's an awesome opportunity to ask students or anyone in the community come up with the nice ideas of, okay, what do you think? How do you design the natural play? If they just come up with any of those ideas, just you can even award them and say, hey, just poking this interest in any way, just getting input, which doesn't have any staff time, whatever, they just submit it, they do it. I mean, that's what I was thinking. It is an opportunity to just seed it, to invoke those ideas in mind, and then share with any of the projects which already staff is planning to do, which will add a value to it. That's how I feel it will be good. And I think my personal recommendation is that we can leave it to the director and the staff on what they need, what kind of inputs they are looking for public, and maybe can we use this as fund. I'm not sure that we're allocating time and then it's staff time, all of them. If it is an existing project to add value, it adds value because it just ignites that interest. If it is something brand new, I think we maybe just force fit this $100 and we will go and work on our hours of teams and everyone spending much more time than that one may not have immediate meaningful. But I love the idea of what you put, Chair. That's good because even I didn't know. I wanted to go tomorrow and take a picture, not to get the money or the share of it. But hey, I never seen that one natural. And you said only 2 months or 3 months. That's unbelievable and maybe something magic, like a mystery spot. No, who knows that what it is? This could be another mystery spot off Cupertino. That's fantastic. So those kind of things are absolutely, I love it. But I don't think that any executable projects with the staff assistants is what that's a question I had. But I think I like your idea, promoting our natural resources and making people to come and asking for any input like any of those natural play, any of them. That's kind of my input. Let me stop there.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Tombe.
So I was actually thinking about the fair that the mental health fair that the Teen Commission had put on back when we were allowed to see each other in person. And what they had actually done was they put together a little booklet. And of course we would do this digitally, but I wonder if we can kind of take this idea, Chair, that you had about going to visit the labyrinth and kind of fuse that with what Commissioner Gopal was talking about existing projects. So what if we had like either a Google form or something where you could say like, you know, take a pic, you have to do these 3 things to, not just one, but you have to do these 3 things. So one can be visit the labyrinth because we want to get people outside. One could be submit a response to a city survey. So we can give them a list of city surveys so we get a little bit more engagement. Or we can say, hey, have you signed up for Parks and Rec emails yet, and just get people kind of engaged with that so we can use that as a way to get the community involved. And then we can pick one of the existing projects that city staff is working on, or something that's kind of coming down the pipeline, be it one of the festivals or something like that, and be like, you can attend this. So making our own like passport or like park passport for Cupertino, or it can be visit a community garden or, go, check out a farmer's market, just things that will get people out of the house. And it doesn't have to be those specific things, but I think the labyrinth is really cool. So adding that, because it's also a bit of a hunt. If you give people like, hey, it's in this general area, you have to find it, gets people kind of excited. And then something as simple as like, have you signed up for Parks and Rec emails, or have you signed up for, have you given your feedback on this critical city project? Maybe we do something around water conservation and say, list one way that you have changed your water conservation at home to help out with the drought, and then have them submit it. It can just be a Google form. It doesn't have to be anything, super complicated, and then use that as the way. So I love the idea of getting people engaged, and I think we can actually combine it and do what the Teen Commission had done, because that was super successful, and they actually used Boba as their incentive strategy for the teens, and they got like, I think 600 and something students to come out and do it, which is crazy because teenagers often don't want to do anything. So so that's really cool. I think that would be one idea to kind of combine it all. And again, it doesn't need to be a really high lift project. It can just, we can figure out what those 3 things are and then put them forward.
Okay, are there any other comments? Commissioner Begor.
This was really just sort of let's keep it as a $100 project. Maybe we can summarize and go around and say, hey, vote on this. I like the idea of combining what you came up with which Commissioner Tombe just came up with, a couple of different things. We take your idea and Gopal's idea and mix it all up and have people sign up for Parks and Rec email all together. Yeah, let's just wrap this up, or should we think more?
So I guess the question is, are you happy with the discussions? Would you be okay with us creating a subcommittee and creating the rest of the details based on what we've heard tonight and running with it? Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine.
That sounds good to me. And so I know I would like to be on that subcommittee, and so I'd like to find out if there's any other volunteers for that.
So
subcommittee.
I will volunteer to be as part of that so we can get this resolved.
Okay. So I guess if, just to reiterate, I guess I want to get a little bit more clarity from Commissioner Tombe and Commissioner Gopal on what you were thinking about, because it sounded complicated to me. And so I think we need to keep it very focused. And again, Commissioner Begor and I will figure out what is feasible as we go through this. But so I guess I wasn't quite clear about what you were. I think Commissioner Tombe, what I heard was that if they did something, there could be a sort of a number of different options that people did to be considered for the prize, and they could do one of them. And is that what you were saying?
No, I was thinking more of like a passport stamp type of thing. I mean, not physical, of course, but just digitally, like a Google form, and say like, hey, do these 3 things and you'll be entered into a raffle to win free boba or free whatever. But they should complete all 3. It would be all 3.
The labyrinth, and possibly, I mean, they may already be signed up for email. So, so we want to encourage something that they're not already doing.
Yeah, so it could be, either in email, like email listserv, or if we always have city surveys that are not even just Parks and Rec related, but there's like a ton of other city surveys as well. Just use that to plug in some of our other surveys that are coming out. But I'll leave that up to you guys. I don't have a preference for what it is. I just want to find them a way to get into the pipeline of the city.
Okay, Commissioner Gopal?
Yeah, the only challenge would be on that, what Commissioner Tombe said, is that I think somebody has to, I mean, they say that they signed up, but we do not know. So then somebody has to verify, and it goes on to it. That's the only part I'm not sure how, and as long as it doesn't add more work to staff, I'm perfectly fine. But my original idea of including either what Chair proposed is that this is really seeding an idea that, it invites people. And so for natural play, when I thought was, again, you can combine that, or you can do it, submit a proposal of this kind of things, but what do you think? A nice idea on it. So then they will submit just on a 3D diagram, or just they do, kids will put on it. And definitely some seniors, some other experienced folks who are good at wooden work and stuff, they may even submit something. So that will be just inviting it. That's what I thought we can use that as an opportunity to pull those ideas. It could be a combination of both too. But again, I'll leave it to the subcommittee to decide. But what I would like to see, that this could be just a starting point. I don't think that there should be one and done kind of. Even with $100, that's kind of maybe, I don't know whether the commissioner has started giving it this discretionary fund every month or every quarter. I don't know where the budget is, but we should ask, because this is a good way to put the momentum on it. It's great that he's seeding it, but it will be good to have that. And then we can start with the big bang, beautiful ideas like you all had it. And that's what I was thinking, where just invite people, and they should look for, okay, if you do this one this month, you get this one. The next month, kind of. That's how I was thinking. You can pick and choose. First time, if you think it's too much complexity with 2 or 3 on it, you can just choose 2. As Commissioner Tombe said, the stamps, if you get 2, that's okay for get into the draw, and you get it. You get a good tickets, and even Jamba Juice ones right now. If you go it, buy one get one. This one, which I bought it too for a school fundraising program, but that's awesome. So those kind of things you can give it to people too. So many ideas how you distribute the money, but the ideas are, it is going to be constant. The only thing I'm worried about is that if you just do once, and if you're not going to talk about anything, this will like, hey, you're just throwing $100 and what it is, kind of, it'll fade away. I would like to have this one being in a constant way to motivate people to come with ideas and get into, like Commissioner Tombe said, in pulling into, contributing into the city. So that I think subcommittee can also talk to mayor and see, hey, you plan to do this one. Would you really give us every quarter, every month? $100, please. That's all. I'll leave it for that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sure he's budget constrained, but so we'll work with the $100 that he's given us right now. And Commissioner Begor.
Is there any input on how you would like to give those prizes? Is it like focused on local businesses like boba, or, you know, I would imagine it's local businesses and we should maybe not go with the chains, just so.
Sure. No, I support it. Sorry when I just used that word, but I totally support yours.
I was just trying to make sure we have agreement on that it should be local businesses so that they benefit from this.
Totally.
I think that sounds good. And I guess the other question I had is, what do you think of, you know, a larger quantity with a smaller dollar amount versus a little bit higher dollar amount? So 20 at $5 or 10 at $10 or 4 at $25. What are your thoughts about that? What is a good motivator?
I feel like it could be twofold. You can have like the first person to submit, right? The first person to submit gets 25 and then everybody else just gets like $10. Or the first person gets 30 and then everybody else gets $10 each. So that way we get like people to like actively do it fast. And then if that's too complicated, then I think just $10 gift cards across the board for the first 10 people to submit. Or if it's a raffle, then you go 10 for whomever.
Okay, yeah. Because I don't want people to feel like they've missed out. So I think, you know, I give them a time frame and then, you know, we'll pick them. Okay, is there any other input? I think that was great input, and Commissioner Begor and I will get together and put our heads together, and then we will talk to the director and hopefully have very little impact on staff. But we know we always look to them for their advice and counsel. Thank you.
So before you guys continue, just for recording purposes, would you guys mind doing an official motion and all that stuff, just so we have it officially for the minutes, if that's okay?
This for the subcommittee, is it?
Yes. So just say, like, you know, the motion is to form the subcommittee with only 2 members and that they will continue the project, just so we have that in official record.
Okay, great. I move to create a subcommittee of Carol and Chair Stanek and Commissioner Berger to continue this project.
I second it.
I second it.
Oh, good.
We need to vote on that, Kevin?
Yes. So Chair Stanek?
Yes.
Vice Chair Shu?
Yes.
Commissioner Begor?
Yes.
Commissioner Tambe?
Yay.
And Commissioner Kumarappan?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, our next agenda item are staff and commission reports. I'll turn it over to the director.
Yes, I have a little bit of a robust presentation for you guys this evening, just because we didn't have a meeting in August. So Kevin, if you wouldn't mind sharing the presentation. Okay, great. So we're going to start off with COVID updates. So the testing sites are still available and can be found on the Santa Clara County website at sccfreetest.org. Currently, all individuals ages 12 and older are eligible to be vaccinated. Drop-in vaccination clinics are available along with appointments. For more information, it is available on the Santa Clara County website at sccfreevax.org. Next slide. For city facilities, if you're indoors, face coverings are now required regardless of vaccination status, and face coverings are still optional if you're outdoors. Next slide. Then to help inform the public on the reopening of in-person services, programs, and events, the city is still updating the webpage on currently open facilities and an estimated schedule for reopening for other closed facilities. The page will be updated regularly and can be found at cupertino.org/reopening. Next slide. So I'm happy to announce that on July 20th, the Quinlan Community Center front front office reopened for customers who wish to register in person for classes or camps or to reserve city facilities and picnic areas. The building is closed to the public and only open for students in registered programs. On August 23rd, the building was open for room rentals as well. Next slide. Oh, sorry. Okay. So the Senior Center reopened their front office starting on August the 3rd and will be open on Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Like the Quinlan Center, the building is also closed to the public and only open for people to registered in classes or that need to take care of business at the front counter. Next slide. The city has decided to delay the transition of televised council and commission meetings into the hybrid setting until further notice. So as soon as that happens, I will definitely communicate that to you all. Next slide. At the July 20th special meeting, City Council reviewed and directed staff to update the Blackberry Farm Golf Course feasibility study to focus on the minimal repairs and return to natural habitat options. The motion included a budget appropriation of $26,400 to conduct these studies. Okay. Also during the July 20th regular meeting, the mayor presented a proclamation recognizing July as Parks and Recreation Month. We were highlighted in the scene that month as well. Sadly, Whitney Zeller's last day with the city was on Friday, August 13th. Until her position is filled, I know that some of you are familiar with Kevin Koo, our management analyst, and he will be filling in for her duties in the meantime. We wanted to thank Whitney for everything that she's done. She's been a tremendous help to our department and to the commission and will be greatly missed. And so Public Works, just an update, completed the installation of the gopher wire underneath the fence and gate in late July at the community gardens. Above us here are some photos of the work in progress and the completed modifications. It's very labor intensive. And then just to thank everyone who attended the ribbon cutting for both the Linda Vista Trail and the McClellan Ranch Community Gardens on August 19th. And then just also a big thank you and shout out to Brian Gathers and the Grounds Division of Public Works, as well as Susan, Michael, and the CIP team for all their hard work and efforts toward the completion of the gardens. And can't go without also recognizing Roger Lee, our Public Works Director, who also helped shepherd this program. Okay, so wanted to give you some general updates. So there was some maintenance performed on the tennis court reservation boards out at Memorial and Monte Vista Parks. The conflicting time plaques were removed, the clocks were tightened and oiled, and the reservation boards were upgraded with metal backings. The board out at the Varian Park tennis courts will be updated as well. Staff researched the reservation system that was suggested at the previous commission meeting and found that the software did have costs associated with it. So we're currently working with IT and looking into potential alternatives. Wanted to give you an update. The following 3 groups have requested to carry over their community funding grants from the fiscal year 2021 due to delays for COVID. The carryovers were approved and will be monitored by staff to ensure proper use and reporting received for fiscal year 21-22. And then the last of the movies in the park will be tomorrow, September 3rd at Creekside Park at 8 p.m. The movie will be The Greatest Showman. And then we also have upcoming our annual Pooch Plunge at Blackberry Farm Pool on Saturday, October 2nd. Registrations are $5 per dog for a 45-minute block and can be taken online at regforrec.org. And then Shakespeare in the Park will return on October 2nd, 3rd, 8th, 9th, and 10th at Memorial Park Amphitheater. More information can be found on their website at sfshakes.org. The following festivals are scheduled to return in September. More details will be available on the city's website. And again, just wanted to provide you all the links to the budget, the CIP dashboard, and the city work program dashboard. Our next mayor's meeting is scheduled for September 8th, and Commissioner Kamarapan is scheduled to attend. And I think that's it. Happy to answer any questions y'all may have.
That's on September 8th, right, Dr. Javan? I just want to.
I believe so. Kevin can confirm, but I believe it's Wednesday.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll get, from comments this time. I'll make sure.
Yeah, if
Mr.
anything
Tombe?
changes, we'll let you know.
Okay.
What is the, can you, you went by it in the beginning, but what is the requirement for kids playing on playgrounds that are under 12? Do they have to wear a mask?
You know, I would have to check that out to be 100% sure, but I don't believe, I don't know if there is a requirement for them to wear masks, actually. I would have to check that out. That's a great question.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, because I've been taking my niece to different playgrounds, and most kids have it, but there's some families that are just going commando. So I just want to know what's like allowed and not allowed, because I didn't want to say anything if it wasn't.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll look into that.
Thanks.
Great question.
Any other questions for the director? Okay, any other updates from commissioners?
Yeah, I was unfortunately behind the vice mayor in that photo, but I attended the ribbon cutting with Carol, and also it was the first time I got to meet Joanne in person, so that was great. When he tapped me on the shoulder, I was like, oh my God, the person I've seen on screen for a year. So that was really nice. It was really great to walk around, and there are still a couple of plots that are open, and I have actually passed that along to several people, so hopefully that will be filled up really fast. But it was really great, and I would definitely encourage all of you to do that. And also, if you haven't walked the trail between McClellan and Linda Vista, McClellan to Linda Vista, just that corridor, I think it's really important to do that, to see kind of in person all of the things, and also take a look at the very, very big Deep Cliff Golf Course that is also super nice. Okay, that's it. Bye.
Any other updates? Commissioner Gopal, did you attend the mayor's meeting in August?
No, I think I couldn't, and I think I sent a note later because of some other issues. I couldn't. My apologies. I already sent a note to Mayor directly, asked for to him, and then I think I sent it to you both. So that's why I'm going to fix it in the 8th. Let's see.
Okay. Any other commissioner report? For me, I attended the Linda Vista Trail opening, as well as the Community Gardens opening, where I was invited to speak on behalf of the commission. So I hope I did you all proud. If you can see, my background today is a picture from the garden. They are just growing like crazy. And speaking to the gardeners, I think they're very happy about how they turned out. They, the squirrels were, and other critters were a real issue in the beginning, and it caused a lot of the gardeners to put in additional structure around each of their plots. They have said, from what I hear, the squirrels are now out. The rats will continue to be an issue as long as we have 4-H located right adjacent to it. So they've kind of come to accept that. They understand that. And, but the plots are going great. The master gardeners are doing a wonderful job. They're there to support and give advice to the other gardeners. And they and some of the gardeners have come up with a program that I learned about when I was there that was called Plant an Extra Row. And what they're doing is they are encouraging the other gardeners to donate, to plant an extra row of whatever, to donate to West Valley Community Services. And the week that we were doing the opening, they had just donated 20 pounds of fresh vegetables to West Valley Community Services. So that's going to be an ongoing program that they came up with. And I think it was really a nice program. And, you know, a lot of times when you're harvesting, you get a lot more than you can actually consume immediately. So this is a great way to put that to good use. And so I was very, very pleased that they came up with that. I do know that the Silicon Valley Day and Night Fun Fest is coming up September 11th, and that will be at Memorial Park, and it will go from 11 in the morning until 8 at night. There's
Sorry, can you repeat that? Sorry, can you start just from that segment? What is it? What day? What time? I'm just making notes of all this.
September 11th is Saturday.
Okay.
It is one day. This is a project that we have funded through community grants. Rotary is hosting it, and they're doing it a little bit differently. So they will have day and some evening. It's not really night. It only goes till 7:30, 8 at night. But they will have sort of the general kids activities with kids blow up equipment and stuff like that during the day, and other activities. They will have a wildlife, environmental booth. There will be performances during the day, and in the evening there will be some beer tasting. There will be wine tasting. There will be food trucks in the parking lot. And so I think that it sounds like it's going to be a very exciting event. And, you know, after 2 years, it'll be nice to see that coming together, and hopefully we can all stay safe. They are recommending that masks be worn by everyone, even outdoors. And so hopefully we can all stay safe. That's it for me. Anyone else? Okay. Future agenda setting. Do we have any comments on our October agenda?
I wanted Kevin to remind me too that we still needed to talk about the mayor's meeting for the upcoming ones, to schedule those, because I don't believe we have those scheduled either. So don't let me forget before we end this meeting that we need to do that. Sorry about that. So we will have an October presentation to review our summer programs and events. We will also revisit the DOLA trial and provide an update on how that's tracking. We are tracking to put an item on the agenda about the Parks and Recreation discounts and fee waivers, and then a potential for adding a second regular meeting for Parks and Recreation on the monthly basis. And then I just added, we'll probably get an update from the subcommittee as well. So those are the items that we're tracking for October.
Commissioner Tambe.
I just wanted to say, really excited to see the fee waivers project. I think making that that standard throughout our city. We live in a super privileged city, and I think people forget that we do, and there are still residents in our community that are struggling. And so bringing that to the forefront, whether or not folks use that, just to know that we're a city that has built in that infrastructure to make it accessible to people, I think is really great. And to start really destigmatizing different socioeconomic levels is amazing. So I really appreciate, bringing that to the forefront, and excited to talk about that. So thank you.
And I guess I would, I'd just like to throw out there that a question about when would be an appropriate time to get feedback on how the new field use policy is being received, and have we seen much impact on our reservations? What has been the impact of the change? So again, I'm not asking for an answer tonight. Just like, when would be a good time to schedule that?
We'll put that on the list. And, again, we're only 2 months in. We implemented it July 1st. So we've gone through 2 months, and most organizations don't really utilize the fields in the summer like they do in the fall and spring. but we can certainly make sure we're tracking that to bring you an update.
Okay, so as far as upcoming mayor's meetings, yeah, so that I was surprised to see that Gopal was signed up for September because I didn't think we had scheduled that yet. But I guess that was because of we got skipped in August. And so the October meeting, what date would that be?
So most likely that'll be October 13th.
Okay, I will sign up for that one. Because I may not be able to for the next 3, so.
And November, what would be the date for that?
I can do November.
So that'll be November 10th.
Okay.
And I can take December since it's my last month.
Oh. Okay, so we have tentative signups for September, October, November, and December. And again, if something comes up and you can't make it, please let me know, and we will get someone else to fill in.
I do have one last question just about these commission meetings. Are we going to keep them hybrid, or are we all going to meet in the office again? Do we know?
So we were anticipating that we would go to a hybrid version this month, but it has been postponed. And it's just because of the difficulties of being able to be in person with masks on and be able to facilitate the meeting. I don't know an anticipated date, but as soon as I get that information, I will disseminate it to the group.
Okay, because I might have some travel, unfortunately, the week November, December, and January, where I cannot physically be at the meeting, but I can definitely be online. It's not an issue being online, it's just being in. So I was just hoping that they'll continue it at least in the hybrid form, so I, can make sure I'm there at all meetings.
I will try and give you as much advance warning about the change as I possibly can.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if that is all of the questions and comments on future agendas, I will adjourn the meeting at 9:02.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So nice to see everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.